Hey everyone, welcome to your first flipped classroom. A flipped classroom is when we kind of reverse your traditional roles of what we would do if we were at school. So typically I would give a lesson in class and you go home and do homework problems. We're going to flip that. And we're going to start trying this more and more often because I think it will be more successful in this virtual format. So you will go home and watch a video lesson, and when you come to class, we'll do the practice and the workbook problems. So here are some tips for a flipped classroom. So read along on the screen. I am sitting in a place that is quiet and free of distractions. I am not connected to social media while watching the flipped video. I have my class notebook and a writing device to take notes. I have closed all other tabs and windows on my device. I have silenced my phone. So these are tips. Obviously, if you need to have your phone on because you know that your parent needs to get in contact with you because of work or a sibling, then keep your phone on. But it's best if you can silence it. It's best if you can close your other tabs or possibly open this video in its own separate tab. I don't like to close my tabs. I like to leave them all open, but maybe pop it out and close the other tabs while you only view this one, so you're not distracted by email or a Google Hangout message that comes through. Definitely turn off your social media, and you should have a notebook and pencil open, out and ready to use. When you're watching the video, I frequently pause the video to take notes. If a video is 15 minutes, it should take you longer than 15 minutes to watch this video. You should not just press play and then sit back and watch it like it's a movie. You should be engaged in this video. So you're going to pause it, take notes. The second one, I rewind the video when I don't understand things. Sometimes just hearing it a second time, it will sink in the second or third time you watch it. So rewind a segment or a problem. In pink, I pause the video and solve a problem or write something down when my teacher tells me to do so. So when I put up a problem and say, please try this and pause your video, you should be doing that. And even if it's not said, you should do that on your own. And last, I answer the questions asked in the video to the best of my ability. So again, you should be engaged. You should be trying the problems, not just sitting and watching. You need to be into the lesson, engaged and working in the lesson, not just watching the lesson. That's really important in math. So as we get started here, go ahead and grab your notebook, title your notes, Evaluating Expressions, pause the video if you need to do that before moving on. These notes will be collected virtually. Tomorrow in class, I will be asking you to take a picture of them and submit them. So we'll do that together in class. For now, just very nice and neatly start taking notes in your notebook. So we're going to do 6 examples right now that have the same set of directions. If x equals 5 and y equals -3, ... So you can put that on the top of your paper, and we're going to do 6 examples underneath this. Pause the video if we go too fast at any point in time. So example number 1, if I have 2x squared, I want to evaluate this given the information at the top that's in red. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the x with a 5. So when you do that, it is suggested that when you replace a variable with a number, you put it in parentheses. This can get out of control depending on the equation. But when you have things like exponents, you definitely want to put it in parentheses because it does make a difference when you go and use the calculator for certain expressions. Once you do the substitution, now you're doing what we learned yesterday, which is your PEMDAS. So we would do P parentheses. I can't work within that parenthesis because there's just a 5 there. So now we go to E for exponents. So I'm going to evaluate that exponent. 5 squared is 25. And like we said in class, you can either use a dot for multiplication, like this, or you can use parentheses for multiplication. Do not do this. it will get very confusing with an x because we're going to use x as our variable. So now I'm just going to erase so we're not super confused here. So now 2 times 25 is 50. Okay, let's try another one. I'm going to make my pen, let's see if this is a little bit better. Yeah, it's a little bit better. All right, number 2, x minus y. So new problem, same set of directions, use the values x is 5 and y is negative 3. We're going to substitute in. I'm going to replace this x, gets replaced with a 5. I'm going to replace this y with a negative 3. Here's the thing you have to be careful of. We're going to bring down this negative subtraction sign in the middle. So what you see here is we have the subtraction sign from the problem, but we also have the negative sign from the fact that the y value was negative 3. It is suggested that you use parentheses here. These parentheses do not need multiplication. It just kind of separates the two subtraction signs. So we have this double negative in the middle. And that double negative is going to become a positive. When you have two negatives, it becomes a positive. So this will become 5 plus 3. And our final answer is 8. Example 3. Negative xy. Remember that this is multiplication. There's an invisible dot in the middle. There are invisible parentheses. This is a multiplication problem. I'm going to bring down that negative sign that's out in front. I'm going to replace the x with a 5. I'm going to replace the y with a negative 3. And when I do that, I'm going to put it into parentheses to show that it's multiplication, right? I knew this was multiplication from the beginning, not subtraction. So here's a mistake. Don't copy it. This would be incorrect. This is a subtraction problem. Okay, we knew at the beginning it was a multiplication problem. So we want to make sure it stays as multiplication. And then multiply this, you get positive 15. All right, number 4. Same set of directions still. We're not changing the values yet. X plus 5y divided by x. I'm going to go and replace all the values. If you want to, pause the video right now and try it. So I replaced all of my values. I put parentheses around this negative 3 here to show that it was multiplication. And now once I've substituted everything in, I'm going to do PEMDAS. So parentheses, there's only one set of parentheses and it doesn't really have anything in it to do. There are no exponents. So now I move on to multiplication or division from left to right. So the first thing that occurs is multiplication. I'm going to do that first. That gets me negative 15. I'm going to bring down the divided by 5. And now I've got that division. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And then subtraction, the answer is 2. All right, I have 2 more examples for you for this set of directions here. I want you to pause once I write them down. Pause the video and try them. They look very similar, but they are a little bit different here. So go ahead and pause the video and try each of these examples. Now, you should be getting 100 for the first problem, number 5, and 36 for the next one. If you didn't get those answers, pause the video again and see if you can go back and find your mistake. So here's our explanation for number 5. I'm going to keep these parentheses here. I don't want to lose them because that's goes with our power. So I'm going to make sure that those parentheses stay. I'm going to kind of bold them with my pen for you guys. On the inside, I'm going to focus on this 2x. So 2 times x. So 2 times, in this case, 5. 2 times 5. So on the inside, I get 10. And then I'm going to square that. So PEMDAS, I did the parentheses, everything inside those big blue parentheses first, and then I'll do the exponent, and you get 100. We do the same thing for number 6, but the difference is that this time the y value that's on the inside is a negative. So it's 2 times negative 3. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Sorry for all the color changes here. I just think it's helpful. And when you take a negative number and raise it to a power of 2, you get a positive answer. And the reason is because, remember, an exponent of 2 means take the number and multiply it by itself. So negative 6 times negative 6 becomes positive 36. If you're saying, but my calculator says negative 36, well, then you put it into the calculator incorrectly. You have to have these parentheses with the exponent of 2 on the outside. We're going to change the set of directions here. We now have A, B, C, and D with all different values. I'm going to give you two problems to try right now. We'll go with black. We're on number 7. Okay, pause the video, try these 2 examples, and then we'll go over them. All right, so again, I'm going to give you the answers first. So number 7, the answer is 98. And for number 8, the answer was 20. If you got one of these or both of these problems wrong, pause the video and go try to find your mistake now. All right, so on number 7, I'm going to replace my A with a negative 5. I'm going to bring down that subtraction sign and then replace the B with a 2. I would then work on the inside of my parentheses, so that gets me negative 7. And now I'm going to bring everything down. Now I would focus on my exponent. So negative 7 squared, we were just talking about taking a negative and squaring it. It would become positive 49. And then 2 times 49 is 98. On number 8, I'm going to replace the A. This A gets replaced with a negative 5. Now, there are no parentheses here. In the original question, there were no parentheses, but you have to know to put them in. So again, when you substitute a variable with a number, it's very common that teachers will say, always put parentheses. I think that gets a little crowded and sloppy. I think it's better if you learn when to put them in, and exponents is definitely a time that you should put in those parentheses for this reason of watching out for the negative. I'm then going to bring down this negative sign, and then watch out here again. We're going to replace the D with a negative 1. So you'll see here that we have a double negative, right? So you're bringing down the negative sign and replacing the D with a negative 1. Minus 2 times my C value is 3. I'm then going to work on PEMDAS. So there is no parenthesis to do. I'm going to go straight to that exponent right here. Negative 5 squared is positive 25. I can also clean up some stuff a little bit. I'm going to clean up this double negative to turn it into a positive. And then I'll bring down this guy. PEMDAS, I'm now on multiplication or division. I'm going to do this multiplication part. And then from left to right, I would add together my addition and subtraction. So this would become 26 minus 6, which is 20. All right, last example for today, same set of directions at the top. We're going to do a fraction, which indicates some division here. So go ahead, pause the video and give it a try. Our final answer here is going to be 3. If you didn't get 3, see if you can go back and find a mistake now. All right, if you still need help with this, here we go with our explanation. I'm going to replace the a, so 4 times negative 5. I'm going to keep my minus 2, and then I'm going to replace this d with a negative 1, making sure I have it as multiplication there. That was 2 times d. Keep my giant fraction bar. And then on the bottom, I've got BCD. BCD means B times C times D. So I can either use dots for multiplication or parentheses. I tend to always use parentheses because dots could get confusing as decimal points, in my opinion. And now with PEMDAS, we're going to focus on the numerator and the denominator separately. So just completely focus right now all your attention onto that numerator. And what would that become? Well, we would do multiplication from left to right. So first we would do that 4 times negative 5, which gets us, I'm going to move down here, negative 20. I would then focus on that negative 2 times negative 1, which is positive 2. And I'm going to keep working in that numerator. That numerator then becomes negative 18. Now I'm going to focus all my attention on the denominator. So the denominator is 2 times 3 times negative 1. You can multiply all those 3 numbers in your head, or you could do like one piece at a time. 2 times 3 is 6, right? This part right here is 6. And then 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. Once you simplify your numerator and denominator separately, do this division. So negative 18 divided by negative 6, final answer is 3. Right? So go back, rewind, go back to any examples that you need to hear again. Clean up your notes, make it nice and pretty, and bring them to class tomorrow. Thanks, guys.